Way, whenever you'd like.
So I'll just start us off just by saying that this is the beginning of the little explanation of the work that's going to be going in phases to different areas in town. Those of you that get out to our meetings get to hear, I've talked about this for the last 6 years. We were successful in getting a Safe Routes to School grant 6 years ago. And we've been going through the state bureaucracy to get this done, had to use their consultants, had to go through so much red tape. It was phenomenal. The grant, they've been helpful for us because we're advancing the ball. Thanks to Remington and Vernick and all our borough staff, we've kind of moved things along. They've kind of got out in front with us, increased our original funding from roughly $250,000 up to about $900,000 right now. And it's going to be a bunch of work to help make crosswalks, pedestrian access on routes to schools be a little bit better. So that work is finally getting underway. You'll hear everybody talk about it, but we're really, really thrilled to get this going, and we're here to answer any questions, really let people know, answer any questions. Cassandra, I guess we'll post this, we'll get this link up on online so people can check it out. Okay.
I'm actually going to, I'll share the municipal information projects page in the chat, and then we will add the link to this meeting on that page and all subsequent meetings and phase updates and all that stuff as well.
You got it. So we'll do a little presentation. We have a couple people that are on, and when we're done, they can, Commissioner Lewandowski's logging in now, but we'll get started. Tim, you want to kind of run through what's going on?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Tim Stashevsky with Remington and Vernick Engineers. I'm the borough engineer. I have Joe Ragusa with me, who is from our construction management side. So he can answer any questions on that end. Basically, this first meeting, I think we're having one or two others, is for where the construction is going to begin. And generally that's Maple Avenue between Homestead and Washington, and then Lincoln Avenue at Washington, so kind of in front of Tatum School. So I think the contractor already mobilized this week on Maple Avenue. And basically they're looking to do concrete curb ramps, crosswalks, signage, and things of that nature along that pedestrian route to make it a safe route to Tatum School. There'd be improvements at Fraser and Maple at that kind of difficult intersection there with the church. And then the overarching project includes South Atlantic Avenue down through Dill and up Stokes to Zane North. So that whole walking path will be done as well. I think that's more or less in a separate meeting. And then I guess the centerpiece of the project is bump outs at Haddon and Homestead in front of the post office. Interesting enough, that was I guess high target identified in like a 2005 visioning study as like one of the more dangerous intersections in town. Anybody knows the area, people parking all over the place and walking back and forth there. So, that was one of the main reasons, other than the schools, that we were able to acquire this grant. So Cass and I met with the school, well, we met with Tatum School today. The contractors, even though they're starting on Maple Avenue, they're scheduled to get in front of Tatum School as soon as next Wednesday. We've been informed by the school district that Wednesday is a good day for them because I guess most students are not in the building and most staff's not in the building. So we're going to try to do our most invasive work during that Wednesday, but there may be a week worth of time that they're in and out doing concrete work in front of the school. So we're going to work as best we can with the school district to make sure everybody can get in and out on time. Understand, there's certain times for dismissals and things of that nature that we're going to work with. So, short of that, I think this is this overall project goes through April with the last work being that Haddon Ave piece. Mayor, I don't know if I missed anything, but I feel like I said a lot.
That's okay. Anything else, Joe? Anything you want to add to us? Cassandra? I know, I see Commissioner Lewandowski's here. Rob, you have anything you can hear us, right?
I can. I'm driving. I figured no one wants to look at a picture up my nose here. No, just, other than, the good news with infrastructure upgrades that we like this is that they make things safer and smoother. But there is a process, and, our interest is not just communicating with you now about what you should expect, but also making sure you understand that we want to keep the lines of communication open so that if there are things you don't know or issues that you want to bring to our attention, that you please do so. And I think, Cass, you shared some information through the chat, correct, on the project itself?
I did, and that page has both Tim and my information at the bottom. We just wrapped on the Grand Avenue project, and we're, instantly responsive to any issues that residents had, as construction was ongoing there. So same thing.
So Cassandra, for people that are just watching this, like on the recording, why don't you just tell them what that page is, where that is?
So that's a good point. If you're watching this afterwards, we started a municipal projects information center that outlines the scope of the project, gives a broad overview. We'll add things like this video there, but it also has contact information for Tim and I if there are any concerns, questions. People often ask about, can I get to my driveway and how long will this be? The information center answers probably 75% of most people's general questions. And it looks like, I'm just going to throw out that it looks like Michael asked in the chat. And if any, well, I'll read your question out loud, but you can also raise your hand and I think we can recognize you if anybody wants to speak. I'm wondering about the scope of this project. Is it really limited to crosswalks? It's obvious the real danger to pedestrians is drivers. Street calming is good, but people will only be safe when they have infrastructure that's separated from drivers and cars. Replacing blacktop is a huge waste of funds, where paint, planters, bollards, and boulders can improve safety much more cheaply and dramatically. So I don't know if you want to jump in on sort of the engineering end, Tim.
No, but I mean, the main crux of this project was, again, trying to get pedestrians or students from, their homes to the schools safely. We identified a student base, and again, it's funny going back pre-COVID, but a student base on the north side of Haddon Avenue that went to Z North, and then on the south side of Haddon Avenue that went to Tatum. So, we were able to show that, that crossing point at Haddon Avenue, along with that visioning study, was really an important thing to have traffic calming and a safety for pedestrians to cross. So, even the traffic calming, the bump outs do a certain amount of traffic calming, but just to reduce the distance that the pedestrian is in the roadway is another big, bonus on safety to the pedestrian. And then the route from there to either school. I was gonna say St. John's, but Good Shepherd was also included at that time. So there isn't really other aspects of that other than making those corners compliant with current standards, and then more visible with striping and signage. I know there's other efforts now at the borough level about bikeways and pedestrians that maybe some of those other concerns can be answered. I think there's other grants that they're pursuing as well.
Tim, I'll jump in there on that. So, as many of you may know, about a year and a half ago, we were awarded a planning grant from the Delaware Valley Planning Commission to essentially put together a bike and pedestrian plan. Out of that, in the process of doing that, we had numerous, meetings and opportunities for the community to weigh in on, problem areas. We had our engineers and transportation planners doing analysis.
We're losing you, Rob.
They saw some real concern. Oh, you hear me now?
You're good.
So
yeah, better now.
Okay, an area of real concern was Maple Avenue. And because cars can accelerate over a certain amount of time and the like, we've put together a grant for, I think it's over $1 million, essentially, to do more upgrades that would essentially, put a little bit of a road diet in to that area. A road diet essentially is, using bike and infrastructure and different techniques to essentially pinch the road and make it so cars, do not feel as comfortable to drive as fast or as recklessly. So this is one thing we have another project, that we're hoping to get this funding for after that. And then there's more after that. It's a continual thing that we work on. So I think it's a good, a good thing you brought up. And I think it's something we're continuously working on.
Yeah, and I'll just add one thing. This is a grant that we applied for 6 years ago, and a lot of what determines what we're in and applying for are the parameters within which the grant, they'll provide funding. So it's not your question, at least, and you feel free to raise your hand if you want to. We can talk. Is about replacing blacktop. Tim, is any of this replacing blacktop?
Very minor.
Yeah,
there may be
there's like brick crosswalk. There's like decorative crosswalks going in spots, right? The bump outs, the handicap,
the majority of the
handicap intersections.
Roadway work. Majority of roadway work is going to be in Haddon Avenue. There's some utility work and things like that there. There's some decorative crosswalks, but for the most part, the blacktop's not going to be touched with this. There may be some isolated areas to fix, make some things flatter or more navigable, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's also not going to include the planters, bollards, except for the Haddon stuff where there is going to be more major construction. The other streets are, smaller streets. So, okay, any other questions, thoughts? So if you have any questions or comments, and this is just generic for anybody out there. Go ahead, what?
Michael's hand is raised. I'm not sure if you,
okay.
Basically, I'm gonna allow you to talk, Michael, just to.
Oh, thanks. Yeah,
there you go.
This is not a normal Zoom call. There's no unmute button. Yeah, so yeah, thanks for answering those questions a little bit.
Sure.
It makes sense that the grant money has to be used for certain things, and that's great you applied for it so long ago. It just feels like $0.9 million is quite a lot of money, and and maybe that money has to be used for certain things. That's great. But yeah, I just know that there are other ways that are much cheaper of like dramatically, truly improving safety for people who use the street who aren't driving cars. And we all recognize that the problem is cars. People are driving too fast. So yeah, the traffic calming, making it less comfortable to drive so fast is good. But I just think we could be a little bit more ambitious about getting our kids to school safely. And with the pandemic, everybody's walking around, and it's we need space to move. So
okay, but this is a pretty good start.
Yeah,
no,
I think it's good.
We can accept $900,000 from the DOT and do those things. Like, they're both good things.
Yeah,
so, we're on.
It's free money for us.
Yeah, and I agree. I'm not saying that these things are bad. I'm just saying that if we want to improve safety, let's take some space back from the cars and make it so that it's more comfortable to walk down the streets. People don't drive.
Yeah, I got you. So we just finished up, like Rob said, this planning study over kind of the last year. And once the planning study's been completed, now we've applied for the money to do the things that the planning study recommended. So we got fingers crossed that we get some money to make those changes. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks.
Jen has a question. Rossi has a question.
Sure.
Good evening. Thank you for recognizing me here. Do you need my name and address for the record at all, or no?
No, not an official meeting.
Okay, cool. So the study that you're referring to, is that the Connect 2020 study that was done, or is this
Yes.
something else?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And I took a quick look at the page. Thanks for sharing that there, Cass. Is possible is Collings and Haddon and maybe a future phase, or
Not for
May
this
not know yet.
grant.
not for this
For-
grant? Okay.
No, it's not in the grants that are right now. And we've had a bunch of people over the years look at it.
Mhm.
And there's just, nobody's got any good solution for Collings and Haddon right now. So once we
Yeah,
get to
okay.
something that makes any sense, so
Yeah.
we've looked at what are they called? The Barnes dance, right? Isn't that the?
I
we
love
looked
the
at the
Barnes
Barnes
dance.
dance.
I would love
Pedestrian
that.
travel.
Yeah, well, we don't have enough people to cross to use a Barnes dance, and there's issues about the timing with the traffic, and it would cost. I think the numbers were pretty big, 6 figures. So the Haddon and Collings is a difficult spot. Difficult
The other
spot.
part of that one, for according to the traffic engineers, is the unintended consequences because of how that road is set up. Is pedestrians would have to wait longer for their turn to cross, and the behavior being what it is, it oftentimes leads to people crossing when they're not supposed to out of frustration at the amount of time that it takes. So it's really, it's frustrating. But that's why it's sort of, we do need something a little, that would be more effective in that area.
Well, I think that traffic pattern is going to change once we move to the new public safety building, though. I think we'll have some changes in the pattern, though.
Yeah.
So maybe we can look at it again.
Oh, we're constantly looking at it. I don't know that
good.
that police and fire is the traffic trouble there. There's,
No, but I
only
recognize it's a big problem. You don't want to have traffic stopped up ahead in front of your first responders there.
Yeah, but that's not that's way down the list of what the issues are there. The issues are that you can't, like Rob said, when you have it wait, and I'll tell you, Haddon and Cuthbert is like that too. Haddon and Cuthbert, the lights changing for the left turns, for all the different things that go on, the time for people to cross, it takes so long while you wait, and it's so short that what people tend to do is cut when they think it's safe. So by lengthening those times, the studies are that that's not good either. Like it makes people, so the Barnes, you have to wait till everybody stops, and can make it a lot more difficult. But we're constantly looking at it, constantly trying to find ways to do, to make it better.
Is it not possible to just tweak those times on the timing of the light?
To do what? I'm sorry.
To change the timing of the light?
Yeah, there is. The trouble is, and they've constantly been tweaking them, but the troubles are that like there's just not a magical timing on it. Like Cuthbert, you got to try to keep, just as an example, you got to keep it running long enough that a slow person is able to cross Cuthbert.
Right.
And it's a it's a long walk. It's a long way.
Yeah.
And at Haddon, a few years ago, we got the pedestrian signs in that are kind of the ones right in front of Arts Plus and Tortilla Press there on that corner, because there weren't pedestrian signs and people were not paying attention to the traffic light because of the way it offsets. And you'll still see them now. That pedestrian light will say, "Don't go." And people will look and see a green light for traffic and walk and get caught in the turns coming off of Collings. It's not a good way to line up your streets.
Yeah, for lack of a better term, it's an extra funky intersection.
Yeah.
There's I used to live in West Philly. I'm going to put a link in the chat here. That's the street view of 48th and Baltimore. It's a similar intersection in a lot of ways, and that it's extremely wide. But it has these, these jutting out planters and paint and rocks that come into the street. that really dramatically shorten the distance to cross that street in some different
Mhm.
directions. I don't know is this something that you've considered doing that kind of work?
We'll take a look. Yeah, we'll
It's
look
one
at
of
it.
like the islands in the middle of an intersection.
Oh, okay, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, so the trouble, I haven't seen the island yet, but just off the top of my head, the difficulty is going to be you got to keep those turning radiuses for left turns off of Collins onto Haddon and Haddon left turn onto Collins.
Yeah, well, yeah, and there's a thing called a SNEC down. I don't know if you've heard of that in the transit world. It's when snow falls, then you can
Yep.
see where people actually drive. And so, I mean, we just had snow. I don't know if anybody got a picture, but it's a pretty, drivers need a lot less space or use a lot less space than you might think they would on a huge wide intersection like that.
Well, we're happy to look at it, okay? Because we had issues this year when we blocked off part of the area in front of Il Fiore to let them do indoor dining.
Yeah.
Because of all the cars that use that space to whip around people making the left, like you sent the link, you posted the link here. We're happy. We'll take a look and we'll bounce it around and see if there's some ways to make it better. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's part of that, if people are whipping around in their cars, that's another problem, right?
Yep.
It's like technically
It is
not legal and it's extremely dangerous for people. So, I mean, I ride a bike a lot. I used to ride a bike a lot. And I know that people do some crazy things, really dangerous things. And really the only way to stop people from doing crazy things is just to take the street, to ride in the whole street so they can't pass you, because if you give them enough space, they're going to pass you. And so that's kind of the whole idea. I mean, like what you're talking about with traffic calming, you make the road narrower and then people don't feel as safe and they don't do things that are as crazy. So, anyway.
Yeah. Which is difficult to do at a major intersection that's not lined up perpendicular there. But, and as much as there is something that could be done, it may not be perfect, but I think settling for better sometimes is, is a good objective too. So look, I mean, let's keep talking.
Agreed. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll say, Michael, you're way ahead of the curve, no pun intended, because we have to explain to a lot of people why it's good we made their street smaller. A lot of times we get a lot of nasty emails about how I have to go slower now. And we're like, yeah, that was the point. So good input.
Thank you. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, sure. Anytime. You can email. My favorite intersections are the ones, with like 8 streets coming in and no traffic signals, right? They find that they're the least accidents because everybody is scared to death of what's going to happen. And so they go slow,
5 points. Yeah.
Yep. So send us any links you got. We're happy to look at it. Okay.
Okay. Will do. So sorry, the kids are jumping in.
That's why I'm still in my office, not at
That
home.
sounds like a routine of the meetings. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you turn on the radio?
Hold on, buddy. I'm still talking.
On the radio. Come
there's
on.
no video, too, so we can't. It's not as entertaining as some Zoom meeting. So biking around Philly a lot, I got to experience, what it's like when you have just a whole grid of one-way streets. Just in Center City, Philly and South Philly, you have a lot of one-way streets going around, and I feel like it's actually a lot nicer for, I think I don't know. In my perspective, it's a lot nicer for everybody, just because you don't have to look so you only have one direction that you have to worry about a car coming from. That could clobber you. So anyway, I'd wondered about that for, like, if you were gonna like, change downtown Collingswood in a big way, give tons of street space to restaurants, like, maybe you could make Haddon Ave a one-way street, and then make whatever that street, what is it, Park Ave, south of the tracks, the one way the other direction, and then you could have tons of space. You could have one lane of traffic down Haddon, and one lane of parking maybe, and then like tons of public space.
Well, we're getting a little beyond what we're meeting for, but I'll just tell you, if you want to get all our businesses together, you could just throw out the idea and hold a meeting about making Haddon Avenue a one-way street. Because I think for the retail market, they really like having all that traffic out in front, making it easier for people to get there. But we're here to talk about the Safe Routes to Schools program, let you know what we're doing. We appreciate all your thoughts and your comments. Don't hesitate to email them anytime, okay? Yeah, sure. And we will look at them all, because I'm telling you, we hunted down the Barnes dance, my God, how long, Tim? A few years ago. We even went so far as to get the county to chip in, get us an idea what the numbers would be, how it would work, and it was a pretty big number without any real benefit. So we're happy to talk about it. So any other questions about the Safe Routes to Schools program? Okay. All right.
Wait, is that
I don't see,
Jen,
you got anything, Cassandra?
Yeah, sorry, I do have another question.
Okay, go ahead, sure.
Thank you so much. So as part of this, I see this is going to be mostly around where Tatum Elementary is, correct?
Well, no, it's
Line has like 3 different areas, and Tatum is one of them.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious if the PTAs knew that like these phase meetings were happening, if that kind of outreach could happen. Because I'm part of like newbies PTA, and I didn't know that there was a Safe Routes to School discussion happening tonight.
So we met with Mr. Kulak today. I don't know if you were on the meeting early when I said it was like took forever to get going, and then it's a sprint. And we discussed with him making sure he does outreach within the school community. So once we deal with the BOE and building administrators, then they do outreach to the, parents and families. We do, residents, but we do specifically meet with, school administration and staff to make sure they can pass that along.
And the outreach is to let them know the construction that's going to be happening, and give them a way that they can reach out if there's an issue that comes up.
And the other thing is there's also the input at the grant drafting stage, where the schools are giving input to the for the grant itself. So that was 6 years ago.
Rob, it's the elementaries are only 6 years to grade 5.
That's
so,
right.
I mean,
those kids have all graduated. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I had hair. All right. What else? Anything else? Okay. Thank you for participating. And I think we're all done. Okay. Talk to y'all. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you.